hello, and welcome to Decorating with Style. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We've got a great show lined up for you, 3 great projects and a great tip. So why don't we get to the first one? Well, you've seen those wonderful intricate designs on Amish quilts. Wouldn't they look great on your wall? Well, sometimes it's hard to frame and hang a quilt, and sometimes they're very expensive. But it's easy to create the design. And to explain what we mean, here's the author of New Decoupage, Durwin Rice. Hi, Durwin.
Hi, Cindy.
Now, obviously you didn't quilt this design, you decoupaged it. That's amazing. It is so beautiful.
Well, it's a lot easier than quilting it, too, which I wouldn't know how to do if I wanted to do that. But you can create this beautiful Amish quilt design. It's a classic design called, I think, Diamond in the Square. You've probably seen it before.
Are those colors traditional?
Traditional in the style. I tweaked it a bit from the quilt that I saw in a museum, but I did it because these are colors I like. But they were famous for juxtaposing these very vibrant, rich, and often surprising colors right next to each other.
It's beautiful. So we're going to learn how to decoupage this quilt.
We're going to do it.
Okay.
And we're going to start with a painter's drop cloth from the hardware store. It's just a cloth which you would
like
ordinarily
cotton?
walk on.
Not plastic. Okay.
No, plastic wouldn't be good, but that's good because I can cut it into the shape that I wanted. I wanted about a 4x4 size piece, so that's where I started. But it's fabric, so your adhesive probably isn't going to glue too well to it, so it's best to prepare it with something. I chose a acrylic medium varnish that you can get from an art supply store.
Okay.
And just simply brush that onto the drop cloth in both directions until I felt like I was confident that I've gotten all of the fibers there saturated with the medium.
Okay. Now that's going to make it real stiff and easier to work on.
And it gives you a ground on which to paint and apply your papers.
Okay.
The next thing I thought was I want to make sure I want to get this completely covered. So I know I'm going to be piecing paper onto it, and I don't want this light color peeking through at all. So I chose the darkest color in the design, which happens to be this blue, and decided I'd paint the entire canvas with a ground color in the blue just to safeguard me for the designing so that if I don't get things exactly together, it's not going to be a problem later.
And that's just a vibrant blue acrylic paint?
That's an acrylic artist paint, which is not terribly expensive. Just choose the right color is the most important thing for the background stuff. And then I knew I wanted to use these beautiful textured rice papers, but again, I couldn't find the exact colors I wanted. This light blue is nice, but it's not really what I wanted for my quilt. I wanted something closer to this darker, brilliant red, so I decided why not just paint the papers, again with the artist's acrylic paint.
Now, those papers are nice because they have a lot of textures that kind of looks like material in a way.
Yeah, I felt like it would give it some depth and the feeling that there was more than just a flat surface there.
Very good.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, once that's dry, it'll be stiff and pretty, like so. And you
want a little darker, too, isn't it?
Yeah. Your paints always dry darker than when they come out of the can. Plus, remember you're painting over a color here, so it's a good idea to make tests and to see what your end result is going to be before you launch into your whole project and decide you haven't done the right thing. Another trick is to turn this paper over when you get ready to make your shapes and do your cutting so that you can draw on the back side of the paper, and then when you cut, you don't have to be so worrisome about getting rid of all of your draw marks because when I turn it over, it's going to be perfect.
I'm curious, when you saw that large quilt, was it 4x4 as well?
Actually, I saw it in a magazine, so I don't know exactly. But I'm able to take the measurements and to blow it up or condense it down to whatever size I want to make.
That's what I was wondering. Okay.
Well, what I'm going to show you how to do is just a sample, but it's a mini version of the bigger version.
Okay. All right. Great.
So this triangle is a great tool, since we're dealing with geometry here, to make sure I get perfect 90-degree angles. I can use it to draw my square like so. So you work around and you get your squares. You cut them out. Use a really sharp pair of scissors because the paper's thick to begin with, and with the added paint it makes it even more brittle, so you want a really sharp straight edge like so to do your cutting.
Okay, so your edges will be nice and straight. Alrighty, good.
All right. Now, before we get to designing it, I'm going to show you about the adhesive that I chose for this project. I wanted a flexible adhesive because the canvas is going to stay somewhat flexible. I didn't want a real strong adhesive that would be brittle and cause the papers to break or to peel off in the future. So I chose this archival adhesive called methyl cellulose. It comes in a powdered form, and you mix. It's really used for bookbinding. They recommend you put about a tablespoon into a pint. I don't think I have a pint of water here. And I'm going to overdo it. I'm going to use 2 tablespoons to about this much of water.
Why?
I like it to be thick. I like to make sure it's going to stick.
Okay. And archival probably helps, too, so the paper doesn't deteriorate with the air and the environment.
It'll protect the papers for about 200 years from anything bad happening.
Decoupage quilt's going to last a long time.
Yeah. Now, this needs to set up. It sets up for at least an hour. Once it's set up, you can put a lid on it if you've got a jar with a lid, and you can keep it indefinitely and use it. But we can't use that right away. I did some earlier to show you what it looks like when it sets up.
Oh, it's like a gooey paste.
It's like it's clear. It almost looks like a clear tapioca. But don't try to eat it.
Okay.
Okay?
I promise.
All right, now let's make our quilt. This is the dried blue background color, and this is the red square that I started with in the center.
Okay.
It's a good idea, since this is geometry, to work from the center out, because you can always trim your edges. You can't go towards the center, and if it's not perfectly square, then you're in trouble. So I'm going to approximate the center there. I'm not too worried about it being exactly in the center. I just want to make sure it's pretty close to where I need it to be.
Okay.
And then I'm going to apply the adhesive to the back side of the paper.
And you're going to be covering up this entire blue piece, or you're going to leave some?
No, I'm going to actually cover the blue with the blue paper.
Oh, you are? Okay.
But I'll show you why the blue's there when I put the next piece on.
Alrighty.
This adhesive...
Actually, my concern was getting the adhesive on the blue, and that would show, but it's going to dry clear anyway.
It dries clear, and this way you don't mess up your work surface all that much. Feel that paper. It gets a little flimsy, you see?
Yes, it does.
That's good.
And gooey.
And you put it on, take your brayer, and just flatten it into place. Like so.
Great.
We're off and rolling. Now the little green stripes were next around the red, so we do the same thing again. Now, see, that blue helps me. If that's not an exact, and it's not exact because I cut it freehand, you're not going to be able to see that blue peeking through there. If I'd left that beige canvas color, it would have looked horrible.
Right. Okay.
So you just continue around with your design like so.
Now, how do you, I'm curious, maybe I'm jumping ahead here, but how do you finish the edges on this?
Well, if you notice on the large quilt, the edge is red. I trimmed off, when I finish the design, I'll be able to trim this off to the exact shape that I want. That ragged edge just comes right off of there. I've got a nice clean edge, and suppose this were a piece of red paper, which it would be in the design. I just put it on. What do you call that if you were sewing?
Seam binding tape, maybe.
Or something.
Yeah. I see.
You just
Perfect.
Put it over the front and back, and you've got a perfect border.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Let's take a look at your finished design over here on our wall. That is amazing. When I first looked at it, I would never think that was decoupage. I thought it was painted like that. It's really, really a great design. Now, you made up this technique, didn't you?
Well, yeah, I did. I did it just for you. And let me point out, you could do it with this beautiful Amish design, but if that's not your thing, you could do it with any quilt design. Just look around, look in the books, find a nice design that you like, and mimic it for your own home.
Durwin Rice, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Enjoyed
Cindy.
it. Great to see you. We'll be right back with more right after this.